Okay, welcome to join our webinar series, NbS Financing Pitch and Match. The initiative is a collaboration between EU Network Nature Plus and the Invest for Nature project. I'm Chen, Senior Economist from Norwegian Institute for Water Research. Our webinar series aims to bridge the gap between nature-related project developers, including SMEs, and impact investors. And we also aim to highlight the risk mitigation strategies through innovative financing instruments and business models. Ultimately, we hope we could inspire greater investment in nature and support the implementation of the EU Nature Restoration Law. Our first webinar will spotlight a real-world coastal restoration case in Denmark. We today invite two guest speakers to our studio. Here is Mette Holm from Aarhus Municipality, Denmark, and Andrew Outhwaite, CEO of Forblue. Mette and Andrew, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you.
To get us started, could you briefly introduce yourselves and share a bit about your background?
Okay, yes, I can say I'm in the municipality of Aarhus as a business consultant and marine biologist and working for the co-financing of new restoration projects in the ocean and partly on land as well.
Thank you. Andrew.
Hi, so I'm the lead commercialization advisor and founder of Forblue. We're a social enterprise that works to improve ocean health through advising governments on growing sustainable blue economies and helping funders and investors match with the innovations that can improve ocean outcomes in their portfolio or their geographic area. So we're quite good at the matching, but also working with the startups to help their commercialization journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's such a great pleasure to have you both here. Mette, would you like to share more about the coastal restoration case you led, particularly the funding needs and challenges involved? And to our audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section.
Yeah, hi, and welcome to, well, hear a little bit about the municipality of Aarhus and the east coast of Jutland. I'll show you a map in a little while. Just to give you a little background on what's the current situation like in Denmark, or especially the east coast of Denmark. We have a lot of farmland here, which means that we have a lot of nitrogen or nutrients going into the ocean through the creeks, which make a problem with the no oxygen and in the summertime, and well, a lot of death in our oceans. And what's happening these years is we need a lot of change from farmlands. That's been decided on a political level. So there'll be buying or selling actually of land if farmers want to, restoring and sustaining that. That are some of the issues that will be needing a lot of financing. In the ocean, we're talking about restoring and creating. And Aarhus municipality, as well as other municipalities, have decided to help the ocean, because it's been very slow from the government sides. So we'll be talking about stone reefs, eelgrass, biogenic reefs with mussels. In Aarhus Municipality, they provide 10 million, 1.5 million euros for coastal restoration. Aarhus Municipality is thinking very multifunctional. That's basically on land in order to restrain to keep back some of the nutrients that's going out into the ocean, but also to take care of our groundwater and the biodiversity on land. In Aarhus Municipality, if we get money for which has happened in different cases, we will provide the project leadership, which means that there will be a financing of the municipality as well. We also, as you can see here in Invest for Nature that I'm representing here today, have financing by EU Horizon projects, which is really a huge help, because that gives us time to create partnerships, to do something like this, to find new business models, which is quite necessary. As it is now, the funding for restoration, both on land and in the ocean here in Denmark as a whole, and in Aarhus Municipality, it's publicly funded. And but there are some really huge changes on the way, so there will be a huge need for financing by private investors. On land, it's not that hard because it means you can buy land, which is a different case than spending a lot of money on a stone reef and having some obligations to take care of the stone reef. We've been talking to financial institutions as well, because in the talk about the CSRD in the EU, the financial institutions has to go first by making some regulations in, for instance, interest for loans and who can have loans and who cannot. But when we're talking to them, one of the issues is they want cash flow. So is there any way we can deal with that? Where is that cash flow going to come from? We still have one big question mark concerning that, so we actually don't really know yet. So this is the current situation, and on this slide, look at the maps. We have, just to put it into context, this is the most of Denmark, and this is Jutland, and this is the North Sea. So this is the area we're talking about now. We have this area on the east coast, 7 mayors who are collaborating on dealing with the ocean. And all the dots are projects that either are already in progress, and some of them are projects that you can people can put money into. As it is now, we have one project that's going over 3 years from an electric power or a power company called Energy that has spent 0.5 million euros. Half of it in Aarhus, out just very, very close to the city and close to the coast, a stone reef that is in a project leadership at the moment. We haven't put stone into the ocean yet. And on the northern coast, which is not in Aarhus Municipality, but in our neighbor municipality, we have a coast with putting eelgrass into the water. And actually, just a couple of weeks ago, we were there with the high school students who helped put nails on the eelgrass to put it in, well, actually also harvested, of course, in a neighboring eelgrass bed and putting it into the ocean with the nails on 1.5 meters and on 6 meters. The 6 meters were the professionals who did that. So Energy is one of our really great contributors in the ocean in our area, and we hope to have more collaboration with them, as well as a couple of other big investors that I cannot talk about yet, but we certainly have our hopes. A very small, just to give you an idea about other donations, a small donation is from a, what do you call that, packaging company, DS Smith. Last Christmas, they put a small project from down here, some stone reefs that's been run by volunteers. They put that up for their clients to give them a chance to choose between 3 different projects instead of getting a Christmas present. So they donated to 3 different projects. And the last thing I want to talk about is we have a stone bank in Aarhus Municipality. So we have a collaboration with the contractors who provide stones that we can put into the ocean once we're there. So as it is now, there's a huge need for several million euros in the ocean around our coast. I'll just end up with a very small video just from one of the times we've been out with the eelgrass with the pupils from the high school. Well, it seems like there's not well, it's just a nice picture, it seems, so it's fine. Some of the students. Yeah, and I think that's, oh, here it is. Very nice. Just to show you when it looks good. This is what eelgrass is supposed to look like. So this is one of the mother beds that we can harvest from. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mette, for introducing us to Aarhus coastal restoration projects. They are really exciting. Andrew, you have extensive expertise in providing financing services to startups and helping them to de-risk their projects. Based on your experience, do you have any advice or insights you could share for resourcing and financing options for coastal projects, including those potentially relevant to Mette?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an exciting project. So at 4Blue, we have helped both not-for-profit projects and organizations, specific projects, but also startup companies. And we have helped 123 so far, so they're quite diverse. Some of them are coastal projects, and what I'd like to talk about is the whole spectrum of solutions and some innovative examples that could be relevant to Aarhus and the projects Mette spoke about. So on the first slide, I think it's useful to think about the sources of resources and finance a bit like an ecology, like the ocean. There are many potential providers of resources, whether it be stones or people's time or expertise or cash. And some of those providers are very visible and popular, whereas others are a bit more hidden and strange, and some are new and evolving. So just like the ocean, the resourcing and financing ecosystem is quite complex. So on the next slide, I will share that there's some important characteristics that you can use to distinguish between the different types of financing and resourcing options. The first is to think about whether your project and whether the potential resources are more about enabling health, like protecting a remote ecosystem in the ocean, or if it is about fixing something that is broken, like remediating some pollution. It's quite different orientation. The second is to consider whether your project is very long-term duration, or if a single day of cleaning up the beach for plastic or doing some replanting of coastal species. It's very different to those timeframes. A third characteristic is to consider, do the funders and the people giving resources want to maximize purely their financial returns, or are they more interested in, say, social connections, or simply the ecological benefit for itself with no expectation of return? So there is quite a spectrum of potential motivations that your project may be relevant to the different providers of resources. The fourth one is about centralization. So the difference between looking for a single donor or a single bank or institution versus having a financing option or resourcing option that is very distributed and that may have many small individual contributions. The last factor to consider in understanding the resourcing options is the risk disposition. Some people are very happy to take a significant risk if there is a significant large return, and they may be willing to lose all of their money with no guarantee. In other cases, some people want a steady return, much like government bonds. They want to have a fixed rate of interest and return to know that they will get the financial return or the brand recognition or even the ecological benefit. So on the next slide, those characteristics can perhaps be a little abstract, but they will help to describe some examples. So these are 6 examples of the diversity of funding mechanisms, and they are based on some projects we have worked in. This is just to illustrate the range and some innovative models. For the first one, in Australia, there are Indigenous people who have a very strong spiritual and cultural connection to the ocean and the land. And in this case, the government is willing to pay for their wages so that they can do that caring for country. So the Indigenous people would be involved in the conservation project, but their employment is paid for by the government, and the benefit is both economic for the individuals, but we get the ecological and social and cultural benefits of the coast being cared for. The second example is, say, Coral Tribe for conservation NFTs. So this is where there's a piece of digital art representing the ecosystem, but it is unique. And anyone online can buy the digital art, and a percentage of the purchase price goes to conserving, in this case, the coral reef. The person owns that digital art and they can resell it. So perhaps they will make some money in the future, but it is a model where something is sold digitally that represents something in nature, and there is a financial mechanism for conservation. The third one is nature credits. So Canopy Blue, a Western Australian startup, sell kelp credits. This is where each credit you buy is linked to the replanting of kelp seaweed in a conservation area. Now, the buyer gets the benefit of buying the credits, but it's a private market, so it is not yet accredited, and it doesn't sort of count to any stock market reporting, but it is the standard is the same as they anticipate the reporting to be. In Canopy's Blue case, they have stapled the credits for kelp to a carbon credit. So the company buying the credits, or the individual, also gets the carbon credit, but the bonus of the kelp credit. I'll quickly go through the last 3. So We Spot Turtles have a turtle conservation program, and they have an agreement with a brewery where the more beer the brewery sells, the more percentage, or a percentage of every beer purchased goes to the conservation project. So there is a shared incentive to sell more of the product, because that will generate more returns both for the company, but it also generates more for the conservation group. Crowd lending for impact. So Lend for a Good is a platform that focuses primarily in Southeast Asia, where many lenders like me as an individual can provide a small loan as part of a larger loan that goes to a coastal restoration project. There is one called Collabit, which reuses the waste from tuna processing to create high-value products. So they have a commercial business model, but the loan is at very friendly terms, so that benefits the conservation startup. But it also means that I, as a micro investor, can pool my money with others to help the startup expand their operations, but I will get paid back. The last one is OceanEye. So OceanEye is an app where tourists can make a micro donation for every species they see. So if I was to see on a tour in Indonesia and I see a whale shark or a manta ray, I can make a micro donation, and that fund goes to the local community for conservation. So it encourages the local community to spend more time on conservation than on, say, unsustainable fishing. So there are some examples of the diversity. And on the last slide, if, like Mette, you are trying to consider which of the many financing options that you could use for your project, it is really useful to understand the motivation that your project appeals to, the amount of risk that you are willing to take, but also the financier is willing to take, whether they have prior experience in doing this sort of financing before, and the same whether you have, and what capacity they have. If they have a lot of capacity to try new things, then you can be more innovative. But if they do not have much energy or headspace, or if you do not have energy or headspace, then you may have to go with something that is more established and trusted. The diagram I have there is from a tool called the Value Proposition Canvas. So if you think of your conservation project or nature-based solution as a product or a gift, you need to think about what are the jobs that will help the financier or the resourcer do. What pains will it relieve for them? Like what problems will it solve? And how can it add value to their brand or to them financially? Ultimately, this is the sort of purpose of matching, but some of those categories may help you think in a bit more detail about what is a good match. So that is a quick overview with quite a diversity of solutions, but I think some of them could be explored if they haven't already in Aarhus, and they may be relevant to other projects and other people who are on the call. Of course, there are many other solutions, but that is to give an example of some of the more interesting ones that you may not have heard of, different from simply philanthropic donations or government funding. At For Blue, just for our clients and in our region, we maintain a database of 600 different sources of funding and investment, and we use these sorts of tools to narrow that down to just the top 10 that are suitable for one project. That is an example of what you could do or other institutions could do in your location. So I'll leave it there, but yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully that is a useful overview. I look forward to the discussion and questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for the insightful talk and valuable advice. To our audience, if you are looking for support in de-risking your projects or want to explore suitable financing instruments and business models for your company, we encourage you to reach out to Andrew and the For Blue team. Before we move to our discussion session, a quick note. If you are interested in participating in the next NbS Pitch and Match webinar with your own NbS project or showcase the financing services you offer, please register via the link shared in the chat. Yeah, we will also post a link in the end. So now we are moving into our discussion session. Let me start a question to Andrew. Yeah, Andrew, risks have been a major concern for the investment. And what's your view on this? And can innovative business models help de-risk restoration investments? A tough question.
Yeah, so there are quite a lot of different risks. Probably the number one is, will the outcome be achieved? So, this particular startup or project may seem nice, but what are the prospects of it actually achieving the outcome of restoring an ecosystem or making fishing more sustainable or, regenerating an area from being polluted? So that is the first risk, which is much more, I think, about science and methodologies. But it also takes into consideration who is the team and do they have experience. So that is one consideration. The second is about the risk of will the investor or person giving the resources, will they get their return? Because sometimes they will want 10 times as much money as they invested if they're a venture capital firm, or they may want 2% interest per year if they are a patient debt financer, or if they are someone contributing in a crowdfunding loan or equity, they may think, well, am I likely to get the emotional benefit, or am I likely to get the product out of it? So in terms of how those risks are managed, they are usually made explicit in agreements. And so if you're looking for funding, you can take that into consideration and share, these are the measures we are taking to lower the risk and increase the likelihood that the outcomes will be achieved. But there are also some mechanisms through insurance and bonds and through aggregating many projects that the financiers or resources can de-risk. They can have a portfolio, or they can get insurance, or they can have a third party through bonds or other means, almost like guarantee their returns. So that is actually quite a popular mechanism now, is for a matching of philanthropic funding or government funding that de-risks the private investment by underwriting the returns or underwriting a minimum return should the ultimate success not be realized. So that's a bit of sort of the dynamics and a couple of specific solutions, which I hope addresses the question. Oh, you're just on mute, Wendy.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. Thank you so much, Andrew, for great suggestions, and I'm very happy to hear the answer. And it also addresses to Mette about this, the public's roles in supporting in de-risking projects. So yeah, we are now near the end of our webinar. If you find Andrew and 4Blue's expertise relevant to your work, please feel free to reach out to them directly. And also, to stay informed about our future webinars, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn or visit our project websites. Our second webinar will take place after summer holiday. We hope to see you there.